travel advisory. Regionally, CARICOM calls for peaceful completion of election process in Guyana. Internationally, coronavirus, China says disease curbed in Wuhan and Hubei. And in sports, Messi overtakes Ronaldo as the all-time record goal scorer in Europe's top 5 leagues. We'll have the details of our stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse.
Wow.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. Citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis are reminded to restrict travel to China until the World Health Organization, WHO, gives the all-clear in relation to the coronavirus COVID-19. That's according to a statement from the Federal Ministry of Health. Additionally, based on a statement, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis on Wednesday, March 4th, amended its travel advisory to include the following countries: China, Italy, Iran, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Japan. This advisory was widely published by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. Persons traveling from China, Italy, Iran, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Japan within the last 14 days are asked to remain where they are and not to travel to St. Kitts and Nevis. This advisory remains in effect for citizens, residents, and travelers until further notice. Persons who travel to St. Kitts and Nevis from China, Italy, Iran, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Japan will be subject to screening at the ports of entry and may be monitored by the public health team or quarantined at home or at a designated facility based on risk assessment. This is in line with the WHO's guidelines that in the event of international exportation of cases, all countries should be prepared for containment, including active surveillance. The statement also mentioned that the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis reserves the right to deny entry to any non-nationals who have visited the countries listed above within the incubation period of 14 days. As of today, March 10th, 4,269 people have died globally from COVID-19 and 118,766 infected, most of the cases from China. In an update to citizens and residents here in Nevis, the Ministry of Education has said the situation at the Charleston Primary School is still being closely monitored. Last Wednesday, the ministry issued a release following reports of issues at the school, which was closed for 2 days, March 5th and 6th, as a result. According to the ministry, in light of this, a representative from the Bureau of Standards was at the Charleston Primary School on March 9th to test for the presence of mold. Based on a visual inspection by the officer, there were no signs of mold on the compound. Further scientific testing was conducted by the Bureau of Standards, the ministry said. The aim of this was to ensure that there are no environmental factors which may negatively impact the staff and students at the school. Classrooms where there were no complaints of illness were also tested by the Bureau. Samples were sent to Miami. In addition, the ministry has opted to err on the side of caution and await the official results from the tests, although deep cleaning was done to remove potential pathogens. Therefore, the kindergarten, grade 1, and 2 classes at CPS will remain closed until results arrive. Preventative measures will be put in place to ensure the classrooms at the CPS are cautiously cleaned and sanitized. All schools will be placed on an ongoing cleaning schedule. 4 days after the by-election here in Nevis, the VON Newsline spoke with the Concerned Citizens Movement CCM's candidate, Mr. Keith Scarborough, regarding his 4th attempt to win Nevis 5 St. Thomas's Parish seat. The by-election was held on Thursday, March 5th. Mr. Scarborough lost to his competitor, Mrs. Cleland Sibbleton Simmons of the Nevis Reformation Party in Appine. Mrs. Simmons received 514 votes, while Mr. Scarborough received 191 votes.
Let me say congratulations to my opponent, on her marvelous victory. And I wish her all the best, going forward in her young political life. Having said that, I believe this election was exactly what the CCM party needed. Sometimes in defeat is great victory. And I believe this election has been, despite what others may think, a great victory for the CCM's party. And what I mean by that is, it has given us that opportunity to measure the seat, measure to see what it is we would like to do, what we have to do.
When asked if he will run again in the next local elections here in Nevis, this was his response.
That is a matter for the executive of the party and the constituency group. And like I said before, if I am not, then I am more than happy to support whoever is the candidate, because I would have got my fair opportunity. So I will not be unhappy at all if somebody else is chosen for that area. I did my share, but you see, you never say never, because you want to make sure if the party call upon you, you're willing to go. But if the party call upon somebody else, I am very much willing to support that person.
Mr. Keith Scarborough. Nevis's Premier, the Honorable Mark Brantley, has issued a statement regarding the threats of violence against Justice Eddie Ventos. And this also comes following a statement issued by the President of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association, Mrs. Dahlia Joseph Rowe, condemning threats of violence against Justice Eddie Ventos, following his recent ruling in the case of Tanzania Tobin Tanzil versus Lindsey Grant and Janelle Powell. Recently, the leader of the opposition in St. Kitts and Nevis, Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, also condemned unwarranted threats against Judge Ventos. Mr. Brantley was quoted as saying, "It has come to my attention that some person or persons using a fake Facebook profile has or have issued threats against a sitting member of the judiciary. As Premier of Nevis, I condemn any and all such attacks on and threats directed at the judiciary." He added, "In a mature democracy such as St. Kitts and Nevis, there is no room for any threats against any member of the judiciary. This type of behavior is extremely dangerous. It is alien to our country, and we must all condemn it unreservedly." Meantime, the ACS Bar Association joins the Bar Council of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the opposition SKM Labour Party in strongly condemning recent attacks on Justice Eddie Ventos, following his recent ruling in the case of Tanzania Tobin Tanzil versus Lindsey Grant and Janelle Powell. According to the ACS Bar Association, we have seen in particular several Facebook posts containing both open and implied death threats and threats of violence against the Honorable Judge and even inciting violence towards him. We call upon those persons responsible to immediately cease and desist from the cowardly and defamatory attacks via social media and wish to warn others who may harbor similar intentions to desist from doing so. The CS Bar Association urged the leadership of the police service in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis to treat seriously the threats against Justice Ventos and to conduct a swift, thorough and thorough investigation. The ACS Bar fully recognizes that members of the public have a fundamental right to freedom of expression, and our statement should not be construed in any way to suggest that judges are above criticism. Furthermore, the association encouraged members of the public to be legitimate and responsible when it comes to criticism and wholly reject unlawful, violent threats and defamatory attacks on our judges. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Nevis, we know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions that make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Gold Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our BeOnline internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back. Another regional news in detail. Chairman of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM Prime Minister Mayor Mottley of Barbados, has called for good sense to prevail in Guyana so that there can be a peaceful and lawful completion of the electoral process there. Allegations of fraud and violent protests, which have so far resulted in one death, have characterized the period following the March 2nd voting. The main issue surrounds the verification of votes in Region 4, the largest electoral district, which led to the opposition People's Progressive Party Civic PPPC securing a court injunction to block the declaration of results. The PPPC's move followed the failure of returning officer Clement Mingo to allow the completion of the verification process for statements of poll in Region 4. The unverified results for the incumbent AIM Partnership for National Unity Alliance for Change, APNUAFC coalition, in the lead over the PPPC by just over 59,000 votes. In a statement issued over the weekend, Mottley said CARICOM calls on electoral officials in Guyana and representatives, political parties, to work together to achieve a peaceful and lawful completion of the electoral process in Guyana. The CARICOM chairman said she has spoken to both President David Granger and opposition leader Barack Jagdeo, indicating that the 15-member regional body stands ready to be able to be there to facilitate further dialogue and any actions that are necessary. The French regional agency, Agence Régionale de Santé, has revealed that there are 2 cases of the dreaded coronavirus in the neighboring French island of Martinique, St. Lucia NewsOnline.com says. The cases were confirmed positive at the Martinique University Hospital last Thursday, March 5th, according to French media reports. They are being managed by SAMU, Everyday Medical Urgente, on the French island along procedures implemented by the authorities. The cases bring to 10 the number of people who have tested positive for coronavirus in French overseas territories. There are 2 cases in French Saint Martin, 1 in Saint Barthélemy, Saint Barts, and 5 in French Guiana. Elsewhere, the Barbados government has expanded its quarantine protocol to apply to passengers arriving in Barbados from all of Italy. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George says that based on the latest available information from the World Health Organization WHO and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention CDC, the decision was taken to require all arrivals from Italy to report to Port Health at the ports of entry and be sent to immediate quarantine. Out of the British Virgin Islands. Once the government's proposed gambling legislation becomes law, persons who fail to abide by the local gaming regulations can be fined up to $20,000 and spend up to 5 years in prison for a single gambling offense. BVInews.com says this is according to Part 8 of the Gambling, Gaming and Betting Control Act 2020, which outlines the offenses and penalties of the Act. The Act also outlines that cheaters of any kind, whether a licensing or associate of an employee or patron, will not be tolerated in the territory. Section 72 of the Act says a person shall not instruct another person in cheating or in the use of any equipment for that purpose, with the knowledge or intent that information or use so conveyed may be employed contrary to the provisions of this Act. Provisions are also in place for persons caught gambling in a street or public place. This is an offense. Such persons can be fined up to $5,000 or face up to 6 months in prison, or both once convicted. News from Dominica. If all goes as planned, a new political party will be officially launched in Dominica in May this year. According to DominicanNewsOnline.com, the Alternative People's Party, APP, which describes itself as a centrist, law-abiding political organization, was formed in December 2019 and is a political movement which is founded on the principle of coexistence. And finally, out of Antigua. Supermarkets and pharmacies across the country say they are experiencing a shortage in hand sanitizers and disinfectants amid rising public concerns surrounding the coronavirus. According to AntiguaObserver.com, Ataya Bass, purchaser of Chase Distributors in Factory Road, said that the sale of such products had soared by around 90% in recent days. For the last week, people have been buying it by the case, especially Lysol. She said that the purchases are being made primarily by government offices and private firms. She explained that inflated demand, coupled with the dearth, has caused some people to create alternative germicides. And meanwhile, the Pan-American Health Organization, PAHO, has urged countries in the region to focus on containing the virus, saving lives by ensuring that health workers are protected and the sector is prepared to care for patients, and reducing transmission through multi-sectoral actions and measures. And that's it for the regional stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. Chinese President Xi Jinping has visited the city of Wuhan, the center of the coronavirus outbreak, sending a message that Beijing has the situation under control. His visit comes as China recorded its lowest number of infections, just 19 on Tuesday, all in Wuhan, apart from 2 who had arrived from overseas. China has seen 118,399 confirmed cases, 4,267 of whom have died. The visit was Mr. Xi's first trip to the city since the outbreak began. According to state media, Mr. Xi arrived in Wuhan on Tuesday to inspect epidemic prevention and control work in the province. Wuhan and its province, Hubei, have been locked down in order to prevent the spread of the disease. The president visited a community in the city currently in self-quarantine. Russian President Vladimir Putin has not ruled out running for the president again beyond 2024, when his term ends. However, he told Parliament that the Constitutional Court would first have to approve such a step. An MP has proposed resetting to 0 the number of presidential terms. Mr. Putin, 67, could potentially stay in power until 2036 by winning 2 more 6-year terms. The former Soviet KGB officer has been in power for 20 years. Here is more in this BBC report.
Under the current constitution, President Putin is required to leave office in 2024. But today he came to the parliament and said he backed a constitutional amendment proposed by a Russian MP that would allow him to run again for office. This is an attempt by the Russian president to remain in power through a change in the Russian constitution. Is it a surprise? Well, not really, because back in January, Mr. Putin had proposed a whole string of constitutional amendments, which he said were designed to make Russia stronger. But the suspicion then was that this was an attempt to remain in power either as president or in some other role.
Stock markets in Europe have recovered some ground following Monday's plunge when shares saw the biggest falls since the 2008 financial crisis. London's FTSE 100 share index is more than 3% higher after having sunk 7.7% in the previous session. Markets were battered on Monday in reaction to the threat of an oil price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. However, after falling as much as 30% on Monday, oil prices also saw some recovery, with Brent crude rising 8%. The main share indexes in France and Germany have also risen, climbing more than 2%. The response has been a fairly standard one when it comes to stock market behavior, said Kathleen Brooks, director at Minerva Analysis. She said she thought markets would recover eventually, as if you look at long-term charts, they always recover. And finally, health ministers from 16 African countries have decided that meetings between officials will all be done via video conference. It is part of measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus amongst nations in the South African Development Community, SADC, where only 7 cases have been confirmed. More in this BBC report.
Southern Africa may be yet to feel the full effects of coronavirus, but the region's governments have decided they need to cooperate. From Angola to Zimbabwe, all 16 SADC nations agreed to work together on improving training and support in order to respond to an outbreak if or when it arrives. They also agreed to use their collective buying power to stock up on vital medicines and supplies. All these preparations will now be monitored through a peer review system which requires members to assess each other's readiness for any potential outbreak.
That brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
You worked hard to acquire your very first home, your dream car, your business, your personal property. The TDC Insurance Company knows how much they mean to you and understand the importance of protecting your investment. We offer the best solutions with affordable rates, a straightforward process, and a range of options to discount your overall premium. At TDC Insurance Company, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. Give us a call at 465-2845 or 469-5430 or visit our website at www.tdcinsurance.com.
Welcome back. Another sports in detail. In football, Lionel Messi broke another record on Saturday as his match winner against Real Sociedad saw him overtake rival Cristiano Ronaldo in the goal-scoring stakes in Europe's top 5 leagues, according to dailymail.co.uk. The Barcelona captain converted from the penalty shot with 9 minutes remaining to give his side all 3 points, and in doing so, scored his 438th La Liga goal in his 474th league appearance. That puts him 1 goal ahead of Ronaldo's 437 goals for Manchester United, Real Madrid, and now Juventus. Messi and Ronaldo, widely considered the best players of their generation, have been up against each other for individual prizes and records for over 10 years. Messi has 6 Ballon d'Or crowns, while Ronaldo has 5. The duo came up against each other regularly, while Ronaldo played for Real Madrid for 9 years. Saturday's goal was Messi's 24th of the season in all competitions and came at a crucial time in Barca looking to bounce back in the La Liga team title race. In basketball, Toronto's injury woes continued Monday in Utah, where guard Norman Powell was helped off the court with a sprained left ankle and did not return. NBA.com says Powell was injured in a collision with teammate OG Anunoby early in the first quarter. Powell, having already missed stretches of 9 and 11 games with previous injuries, had been in the midst of a scorching streak, averaging 28 points in 5 outings since returning from his post-recent absence. In more basketball, the scores from last evening's matches are as follows. Hawks beat the Hornets 143 points to 138 points. Raptors beat Jazz 101 points to 92 points. And Nuggets beat the Bucks 109 points to 95 points. In cricket, here are the official points standing in the 2019-2020 West Indies Championship after the 7th round of matches, which ended on Sunday. Barbados Pride, 7 matches, 5 wins, 2 losses, 116 points. Guyana Jaguars, 7 matches, 3 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 85.8 points. Windwards Volcanoes, 7 matches, 2 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, 73.6 points. TNT Red Force, 7 matches, 2 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, 72.2 points. Jamaica Scorpions, 7 matches, 2 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, 68.6 points. And Leewards Hurricanes, 7 matches, 1 win, 4 losses, 2 draws, and 48.4 points. And finally, in local cricket, a century from Jaila Clark on a Sunday powered defending champions Molineux Kayon to victory over Newtown to remain perfect in the Keith at a 2020 tournament in St. Kitts. Molineux Kayon won the match by 6 runs. On Saturday, Young Guns scratched the Rising Stars. Young Guns batting first matched 202 from their 20 overs, with Welton Edwards leading the way with 60 runs and Jatin Patel smashing 39 runs. In response, Rising Stars got to 119 for 5 from their 20 overs. Tarek Newman top scored with 30 runs. Young Guns played their second game of the weekend and recorded another convincing victory, this time over Lions. Lions were dismissed for 92 with no batsmen getting to 20. Sherman White and Ronaldo Murray both got 2 wickets for Young Guns. Patel and Bernard Island got the Young Guns off to a flyer to set up an early 5-wicket win. And that's it for sports. The General Weather Report is next. Welcome back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight will be partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Weather tomorrow will be partly sunny with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Winds are east at 19 to 28 kilometers per hour or 10 to 15 knots. Seas are 1.8 to 2.4 meters or 6 to 8 feet with northeasterly swells of 1.8 meters or 6 feet. The high surf advisory remains in effect. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:22 a.m. And that's a wrap-up news package for today, Tuesday, March 10, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, by election aftermath, CCM's candidate says sometimes in defeat there is a great victory. And COVID-19, Federal Ministry of Health issues updated travel advisory. Regionally, CARICOM calls for peaceful completion of elections process in Guyana. Internationally, coronavirus, China says disease curbed in Wuhan and Hubei. And in sports, Messi overtakes Ronaldo as the all-time record goal scorer in Europe's top 5 leagues. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashin Tyson wishing you a pleasant evening.